How's it going, everybody? It's Creezo here. Coming at you, Modern Girl Media. Hope you're having a good afternoon, morning, evening, whenever this gets uploaded and whenever you're watching. Thanks for joining me. We're going to be doing my top 10 tracks of the year today. I'm going to be joined by nobody. This is my first solo endeavor on this channel, as was demanded by MJ Bearbox. We got to start paying some more bills. So neither of my hosts, Thomas or MJ, are here today. I'm just gonna be going over my personal favorite top 10 tracks of the year, in no particular order either. These are really just off of my liked tracks on my Spotify that I looked from January up until today. And if anything, they're gonna be going backwards a little bit because I looked at my most recent tracks and then I backtracked to January essentially. And yeah, like no particular order in terms of favorability. I put some dates next to these just so we can kind of keep track of when they came out, but the dates are with corresponding album releases. I'm pretty sure all of these ended up on albums. Anyway, yeah, here we go. I'm gonna start off with very obviously Jameson's Soft Spot. It came out in October. You can see the cover right there. It's cool, yellow looking, very punctual thing. I also wrote down some notes here just so I wouldn't become too lost to my thoughts, because I really wanted to talk about the albums, but I'm making an effort to save that for the end of the year thing with MJ and Thomas probably. So yeah, I'm gonna try to focus in on just the tracks, and of course, if you guys want to check out the albums, well, they're there for you to look at. But yeah, Soft Spot by Jameson. No more disclaimers. This year for me was very festive. I spent a lot of time partying, a lot of time in the club, and Jameson's Soft Spot stuck out so almost profoundly. I say so almost, because it was like being able to be in the club any time of day. The first time I heard this song, like, it really transports you to somewhere else whenever you hear the little, I suppose they're bells or chimes, when they come in really gently. The performance as well, like the voice and then the pitching up fit the theme really well. And overall, it's just a very transportative track. Here's some of my notes. Yeah, the club feel with the instrumental, like I mentioned, the chimes, the hook. Every time that you open up, like, oh, it's so good. I love the hook. It's really fun. I'm a big singer too, so whenever a song has very catchy refrains, or I just find favorability in, like, maybe the meaning behind the words, they'll replay in my head a lot. And I also love double entendres, and just so you guys have an idea of like what maybe suggested my favorability towards these tracks a little better, like why I like them so much. I'll be explaining a little bit of my taste as we go, if you haven't picked up on it from our review videos as of so far. But Soft Spot Jameson. Also the replay value and the social occasions. That I've been asked about this song so much, because I hang around a lot of people with similar interests as I. So like a lot of my friends that go to the clubs and stuff, throw my shit in a circle as well. I guess that's sorry, I was taken aback by the note I put there. I forgot I forgot I put that there. But yeah, I'm always dancing to this song. This song comes on in the car, while I'm driving to work, while I'm sitting here on my computer, doing notes or reading, or when I'm walking my dogs. I start a little two-step, like, my goodness, this is one of my favorite songs this year. And I put it at the top of my list also, just as kind of like, I don't know if it really counted towards my 2024 top tracks, because it did come out in October, as you can see. So I was debating. I was like, like maybe not, but I listened to this song so much this year, especially even now. Like, as I mentioned, I'm going backwards chronologically on this list. So I'm listening to this song mostly right now, and it's the oldest song on this list. Just goes to show the replayability of it. It's so good. I feel like I've gushed long enough. We have 9 more tracks. Jameson, also, if you haven't found him, great artist. Jack White. Jackie says she want you. Old Scratch Blues came out in August. The 2nd of August, specifically the album cover being this like textured, dark, deep blue, veiny, spotted Rorschach amalgamation. This album, I will talk about at the end of the year. I almost talked about it. Perfect setter for the beginning of the album. Old Scratch Blues is. It is a bluesy melody lead. The super super country, super rock and roll, man. Like what is it? The bridge on the second half. You're gonna find out. Like this song has been such a contrast for what I thought I would enjoy this year. I didn't think I was gonna like such a nice hard rock and roll album. And the reason I picked Old Scratch, honestly, off of this album was just because it's the one that's stuck in my head the most, though most of the tracks on the first half of that album are equally infectious for me. And also, like, the refrain, Jackie says she want you. Like, I'm always singing that in my head. So I just picked this song out of the bunch. But honestly, any fucking song on that album could have been on this list. Like, that's going to be the take for most of the tracks on this list as well. Like, I just really enjoyed the album, and I picked like my favorite or one of my favorite songs from that album to put on this list specifically. So you might see a lot of these again, probably will, if you watch a later video, third promo. What else can I say about this? The lyrics can somewhat be followed, you know. He has a lot of metaphors, like alluding to fame and like you're gonna find out what it costs, like the price of being a sellout. Like a lot of these, like, what is it, like touching, you know, I forget the word, but yeah, the refrains, the metaphors, like they're really cool. The riffs go crazy. Like, best rock and roll album of the year. Take it. Old Scratch Blues, Jack White. Something else, coming back to the club stuff. Charlie XCX's Girl So Confusing with Lord. I didn't think I would ever hear a song like this on a Charlie XCX song, a track, forgive me. And not for any particular reason. It's just so narratively dense and graceful and uplifting. Like, there's a lot of uplifting Charlie XCX songs, don't get me wrong, but this is just so specific and so personable. It feels like a work of art. Like, it's just like it feels like I've been following their friendship for years, and I've become so familiar with them in only 3 minutes and 25 seconds, I believe the song is the length of. But yeah, like Charlie XCX, hyperpop legend, hyperpop extraordinaire, like kind of the accumulation of all of the strides in progression of pop music, like its evolution. I think Brat encompasses that, and it's made so digestible, and it's done so gracefully, you know. And hearing Lorde come on here and doing this, I didn't think she had such capacity to be such a good feature, like so meldable with Charlie, you know. And I didn't know they had all this beef either that they worked on this track. Thankfully, like I'm happy they did, because I love this track. Yeah, that's why I mentioned it was like seamlessly harmonious. Yeah, and the messaging of the track too is just very powerful. Like, as much as I enjoy the harmonies, and as much as it's a club banger, and you know, as confusing it is to be a girl, this track is really about communication. It's really about trying to find a place where two people can make an effort to see eye to eye, you know, as opposed to, you know, leaving things in the dark, leaving things to chance. And you know, because it's a little offensive, isn't it? Like, when you care about somebody and then you notice something's bothering them, but they just kind of like they can't be bothered to fix it, and even though you both know, and just kind of makes you think like, wow, like, damn, this person probably doesn't value us or my friendship as much as I value theirs, because I would have said something, you know. That's what this track is about. If you've ever had that situation happen to you, it's an amazing personable track, and it's my favorite Charlie XCX song to come out this year. Like, I was such a huge fan of Brat and the remix album and the deluxe, and I think I picked this one because of how personable and how precious I thought the whole idea was. Boom. Bow. All you children gather round. We will dance together to Jamie XX featuring the Avalanches. I think the reason this track sticks out so much more to me than the rest of the album is because of the Avalanches' influence. Like, I followed them closely up until maybe 2 years ago, when, you know, like, my music ingestion was just becoming so saturated. And so seeing them on this Jamie XX that MJ showed me, it was like a breath of fresh air, you know. And yeah, he was releasing Jamie singles and like little tapes for a while, like teasing the album throughout the year. It was coming in waves, you know what I mean? And so, like, this was one of the earlier releases, and it made me really excited for the rest of the album. And while I don't think that the album reached the highs, or like got much higher in terms of like hype or quality past this track, I'm still obsessed with it. I still listen to it every day, nearly. Whenever I listen to house, or like I'm like in an EDM mood, this song is always on rotation. I can't get enough of it, and you should really check it out. You're probably familiar with Jamie XX already, if you're into house music, or if you're into like, you know, EDM at all. So, you know, if you didn't check out the new Jamie XX album too, I do recommend it. And number 6, this one's very personable for me. I love Cruza. This was my introduction to them, this album. And Such Is Love was, I believe, the single to come out before the album. I could be wrong. But it stuck with me the most because it was like kind of the loudest and it had the most energy. Favorite R&B track of the year, psychedelic rock like nobody else. I talked about how Jack White was like this real classic rock and roll, like unstoppable force, and Cruza is much more psychedelic, laid back, but still in the class of rock, you know. Yeah, my favorite atmosphere. When I wrote this, I really meant to say that, you know, when you become transported or immersed in an album or a track list, then you're sitting there studying it, or like maybe listening to a record for the first time. An atmosphere is created around the song, around the music that you're listening, you know. And this record created my favorite atmosphere this year. I felt very safe in it. I felt like I felt transported, you know, and I hadn't really had a psychedelic music experience like this since, I don't know, you know, being in high school and listening to like Lonerism for the first time. You know, being like 16 or 17 and being like, wow, it was the best thing ever. You know, and it was a little nostalgic. So I really appreciate this album for doing that for me. It's sexy as fuck. So sexy. I love this album so much. I put it on anytime I have somebody over. I love this album. Cruza, very dear to my heart. I would say this is probably like top 3 songs of the year, Such As Love, and also Creep. If you want to get to know me better, go listen to this Cruza album. Lon Lon by Mag Hami. Rich ass Haitian album. Record. Came out in May. It was like a summer album. My favorite rap album of the year. Mag Hami. Yeah, including the new Kendrick GNX, as much as I enjoyed that tape. Like, the Mag Hami record was just the definitive summer piece. Like, I listened to it and I was like, I'm sated. I don't need any more music to come out until fall, winter time, you know. And this track, I always come back to it even though it doesn't have any features or it's not the most summery album, because the flute takes me somewhere I don't want to return from. That's the best way I can describe it. The main flute lead is just so enriching. I feel like I've used the word transportative 4 or 5 times. Uh, Time is flying for both of us. Ain't no significance in being martyred if you're drowning out arenas. Just some lines I like from the record. I think I put them in just because I'll be walking around my house doing some bullshit, and these lyrics will pop in my head, like just throughout the day. Like I'm sure that happens to everyone, to you guys as well. Like sometimes you'll just be walking and like a song will pop in your head and you'll be stuck in it, But this record being one of my favorite of the year, it's definitely had that effect. Impeccable flow and lyrics that make you spin the record all day because you want to listen again, because you're so impressed with his execution of the performance. Like it's gush worthy as I am. These crackers billing me for parking peace, pathetic. I actually just paid a toll today. Fuck toll roads. The Billie Eilish record for much earlier in the year. We're getting to like the earlier half of the year. I guess the Mac Homie was more the signifier of that. Being halfway through too, I didn't do that on purpose. Forgive me for my pronunciation. L'amour de ma vie, by Billie Eilish, came out in May. Part of the Hit Me Hard and Soft album, I believe it was called. I'm not sure if this was a single. But the reverb on the guitar is mesmerizing. That's the first thing I think about when I think about this record. Because it enters with that, and it starts with Billie on the very first note saying, "I wish you the best." And I think that's very symbolic. Her, not just her saying it literally, but before her going into any of her talking shit, she talks a lot of shit on this song. She wants you to know that, like, I wish you the best. And this song to me too, it's very personable. It reminds me of my first love, my first experience, cherishing and trying to do well to somebody. It's very sweet, it's very innocent. And I don't know how old Billie is or how old she is when she wrote this, but mayhaps it's just because it's like her first experience with love, or maybe it's just one of her experiences that she, exacerbated into a song, for dramatic effect. She's dramatized or whatever. Like, I don't know what's going on with her life, and I honestly don't care. Like, I'm sure no one does. But we're out here for the music, right? Anyway, I digress. I said you. I'm always singing that too whenever I think about the song. Her breakup is fascinating. Like I say, who cares? But like the way the narrative goes in this song, it makes me want to care. But like I say, who cares only as a means of like, who cares about any celebrity, right? Like not Billie in specific, but like their personal lives are like whatever. Like that's not really why we pay attention to them. Blah blah blah. But this breakup is very juicy. Like she's talking about how this guy made her feel terrible, saying that like she ruined love for him, and of course she's gonna feel guilty about that. She had these feelings of guilt, and she's kind of like expecting an apology for it. That part I didn't really agree with. Like I don't think she should really expect an apology, but again, like there's a lot of context lost, and that's not really the point of the song anyway. But yeah, like it's still super super narrative. The second half of the song has like a little beat switch. It turns into like this very housey like EDM, like very energetic, vibrical song. And she has this auto tune over her voice that actually fits really well. It fits the theme of it, and I think it's supposed to represent this like overcoming or this transforming or this changing. It sounds like this was like weighing really heavily on her, and now she's like able to move on from it because of their breaking up. Yeah, great use of autotune. Oh, my final note on here always makes me smile when she says his dick was wet, because we all know that one couple that just, yeah, I mean, like 2K24 tour with Neonte, Mike, Tony Seltzer. The Pinball album came out March 6th. This album is really like, I'll talk about this album briefly. This album is really a conundrum for me because there's so many tracks on it that are like perfect. Like this one, the Earl track. Um, I can't think of too many more off the top of my head. But like, there's a couple songs like I think they're like tens, and then some tracks are just like super forgettable. But they're all really really well produced. And Pinball, I will predict, will be probably on my top records of the year just because of how much replayability. And I'll say really quickly also about the album. I always thought the theme of a pinball machine as a record was fucking awesome, because the same way you play a CD, you play a pinball. I might play a couple tracks, bounce it left or right, whatever. Like, it's just such a good comparison to music theming and all that. Like, I don't know. I haven't even talked about the track yet. Neonte is the real star of this track for me. I love the mic performance. I love the mic bars. But Neonte's southern flavor, man, it's just so infectious. And the second half of the album, it cranks the energy up to 11. The lyrics are just about like doing the dirty with both your hands up and both feet on the ground. Oh man, I love this track so much. It's like a final boss fight, but like you're dancing like somewhere in South Carolina. I don't know. I love this record. Yeah, Tony Seltzer's production, amazing. I imagine we're gonna talk about pinball a lot during our albums discussion, so I'm being cautious. You might feel me hesitating. Uh, I was bored by the jet, made a billion. Now fuck that bitch, I need a trillion. Now fuck that bitch, I need a feeling. Made me so damn mad, made me feel it. This track makes me feel like I'm inside Night City. And then, dude, the Tizo Touchdown album was really good. And he comes out with the deluxe that has 3 more tracks on it. I was like, oh, that's not that many, but they were such good tracks, and all 3 of them were so different that I thought it added so much to the album. And I think too, it might just be my bias because Tizo was one of my favorite artists this year. Like, I'm thinking he's gonna be either my top listened to artists or like probably top 3. I love that record so much. I sang it all year long. I was singing that album. I wish he had more songs on karaoke on YouTube so I could have karaoke more of his songs when I want to go. you know. And I had to settle on one. I had to settle on one track to put on this list, and I picked Third Coast because it's 3 songs packed into one with West Coast refrains all over it. I got houses on top of houses, got cars, side of cars, left yard, right yard, front yard, backyard. Boy, his melodies and inflections are infectious and playful, while still like maintaining this demeanor of like seriousness, and it's still impressive, like the way he hits these reefs. Baby, I'll get down on both knees. Like, he's hitting that shit. And all the way from the front to the back of this album, and people really went in on Tizo this year, man, on Twitter. It was crazy seeing the reactions to this album, because yeah, it was very different, and I appreciated that so much about it. My first listen in, I was like, I don't know what to expect next. There wasn't a single track where I was disappointed, or bored, like, even if I didn't enjoy some of the tracks, like the tracks I did enjoy stuck with me so much more because of that. And I picked Third Coast because for whatever reason, the final part of it, I always catch myself singing. And I think it's my favorite Tizo thing he's ever made, just that last part of that song. And it's such a good period on the album, you know? It just puts it in a little bow and it ships it off so gently and gracefully. So I'm really happy to see it as the last track, and I'm really happy just that he included it at all, even as a deluxe. And yeah, come on, girl, I'm outside. Hurry up, it's freezing. 2 minutes and I'm leaving. Can't have nobody see me out here creeping, looking thirsty. Promise you won't hurt me. Why am I here in the first place? you know. Thank you guys for joining me. This was cool. Doing a solo video. I downloaded OBS and I'm about to go edit my little video and put it together for y'all. Happy holidays. If we don't upload this before the albums, then know that I recorded this before we made the album video. I hope you guys learned some new music, or like have something to check out now. At least that was kind of the point of this video, yeah, thank you guys for joining me. Signing out.